Do you think it's a good idea for the Bush administration this week to convene Israelis and Palestinians and a lot of other countries and institutions in Annapolis, Maryland, to try to jumpstart the Israeli-Palestinian peace process?
Well, I don't think it's ever a bad idea to try to get parties to discuss the ramifications of a world that continues to spiral out of control. Whether or not there's going to be a resolution, at least there's some conversation taking place, and that's healthy.
Should Israel give up the West Bank?
No, I don't think so. I've been to Israel 9 times. I've been all throughout the Middle East, to Lebanon, to Syria, to Jordan, to Egypt. Anyone who goes to Israel, and if you just understand the unique geography and the unique tension that surrounds that area, it would be very problematic for Israel to give up the West Bank from their own standpoint of security. The same thing with the Golan Heights. Giving up the Golan Heights makes most of Galilee a sitting target, and it would be a very problematic concern for Israeli security. Now, it's their government. They'll make that decision, not me. But I certainly could not encourage them to give up the West Bank.
Well, if they're not going to give up the West Bank, or with Syria, the Golan Heights, or at least parts of the Golan Heights, what are they going to negotiate about from the Arab perspective, whether the Palestinian or the Syrian perspective, if Israel shouldn't give up the West Bank or the Golan Heights?
Well, there are a lot of options that involve other territory that doesn't have to include the West Bank or the Golan Heights. There's an enormous amount of land in Arab control all over the Middle East. And to say that it has to be on the West Bank or that it has to be in the Golan Heights, I think limits the capacity to bring some type of resolution. But let's be honest, there's not going to be some instant kumbaya moment where everybody builds the campfire, toasts marshmallows, and sings holding hands. This conflict isn't new. It's been going on since all the way to the time of Abraham, and it's not going to be resolved anytime in the immediate future. The best we can hope for is that there will be some level of loosening of the hostilities, but that everybody's going to just get along merrily is probably not something that's likely to take place anytime, at least in the immediate future.
Well, I guess the question, though, is do you support what's called a two-state solution, Israel and Palestine side by side, as President Bush says he supports?
Well, I would want to see where that side-by-side exists, Wolf, because if you do something that puts the Israelis in a position of ultimate vulnerability, that may not be a healthy solution. You've got to realize that there are people in that region who have stated that their primary purpose is to annihilate Israel, to do away with them. And if you surround them by hostility and give them very little room in which to maneuver, you may not have created anything other than a very, very temporary peace, but for a long-term disaster.
So I guess you're not ready to endorse what's called a two-state solution yet?
Not till you see where those two states are going to be located and whether or not there's going to be some guarantee of security and concessions on the part of the nations that would surround Israel. And the Israelis would have to be comfortable with it. Otherwise, it's not going to be something that I think they could live with.